is to say that we just floated out of the mother's body and never really experienced life, and that's a sad thing. And families are not only for this existence in the third world, but we are told that there are families in the next world. And if you don't take the responsibility, you will not have them in the fourth world. She was explaining to me one time how when she left her body, that everybody began to cry. She stepped out the door to the east, and off to the east you could see far off in the distance that she could see that there was a place that she should go, and there was a big light. All life is important, we are told. Ina is the way that they tell us. That life is very precious. Yin is that life is very sacred, and we have sacred plants. And then insects, there are sacred insects as well, sacred birds. And then, of course, animals and all of the four-legged creatures. So life, as we are told, is very important in any form. And the one that is considered the most important, of course, is the five-fingered being. The five-fingered being is us, the humankind. We are told that we have this opportunity to experience experience life. And so in life there are things that bring us into existence. And so even today we have life that comes from a man and a woman coming together, and the woman produces the child to her body. And sometimes that birth does not occur in a natural way. Sometimes there are miscarriages, or that there are times when that baby is lost. In the traditional teachings of our people, the occurrence of a lost child in that way is a sad event. Is to say that we just floated out of the mother's body and never really experienced life, and that's a sad thing. But in the traditional way, I've seen it a couple of times where there was events where one of my relatives lost a child before birth, and that life form was considered very sacred even after that event. And they would take the child, a small child, and they would wrap it, and then they would take it to a special sacred place and leave it. And so it was a sad event, losing life in that way. It is said, we are told, which is, it is your family. It is a part of your family. And families are not only for this existence in the third world, but we are told that there will be families in the next world, and this is the fourth world. Begins which means that if you were responsible and you took the responsibility that these children that you have in this life, they will be yours in the next life. Such a thing as also the animals, your horses, and all of your various livestock will be yours if you are responsible for it in this life. But if you don't take the responsibility, you will not have them in the fourth world. And so the teachings are, which is to say that, this is sacred. These things are holy. And so it is that we have to regard that in that manner here in the third world, because they will continue on in the fourth world. The teachings of our people concerning life is that it is very important to honor it, to keep it sacred, and to recognize it that we are the children of holy people. Holy people have their own plan. Holy people have it all figured out as how we are to experience not only life in the third world, but in the life in the fourth world. And the teachings of our people, which means a life into the eternities, is what is there for us to experience. But it is that here in this life, when we are responsible for the things that we have and the things that we are given in life, the life forms and that we are given responsibility for, we will be rewarded in the way that if we are responsible for them here, we will be ours throughout the eternities. Everything in this world is based on the sacred number 4. The way we come into life, it can be in the traditional way of where it is the mother and the father, or there can be places where some unwilling victim was made to bear a child. And there are other ways in that, of course, that people talk about today. where ways to produce children are also available. But nonetheless, it is that everything in this life is based on the sacred number 4. And even when we leave this life, there are 4 ways that we can journey from this world into the next world, which is through, of course, natural causes, or somebody taking our life, or we taking our own life, or through sickness and other things and that accidents and that can happen. But everything is based on the sacred number 4 in this life, how we come into life and how we leave this and continue our journey into the next world. I have an aunt that died and left this life for about 20 to 30 minutes. She had pneumonia and she was laying in a hogan, and she was explaining to me one time how when she left her body, that everybody began to cry, all of the people that were in the hogan with her. And she stepped out the door to the east. And off to the east, you could see far off in the distance that you could see that there was a place that she should go. And there was a big light over in that direction. But while she was standing there, she thought about her father. And as she thought about her father, she immediately was transported to where he was. And she was observing him as he was walking around the room and doing certain things. And she observed him, but he was unaware of her. And then she thought of another relative, a brother or a sister. And she was immediately there again, and then she experienced the same thing. They were unaware of her presence. But then she thought of her mother and her sisters back at the hogan, and immediately she was back over into that location. And there she was observing her mother and her sisters, and all of the family members were just crying because they had observed her death. But when she was alive, she was in great pain and very uncomfortable. And then when she had left her body, she became very comfortable. And she felt so strongly that she should return to her body. And as soon as she thought that, she came back to life in her body. And she was, of course, very ill for a period of time, but she did experience life. And when she was very elderly, she shared the information with me. She's one of the people that told me life is so very important. It does not last for very long in this, the third world, but it is something that we have to really be careful of and keep it sacred, and it is a holy experience. And so she lived a wonderful life. She was one of my most favorite aunts and that. When she was young, I was told that she was very mean and she was very cruel to people. But after she had this experience of dying, she was the most lovable woman. She was just a wonderful person. And those are the things that I have observed. Life is precious. Life is meaningful. Life is important. Life is sacred. And so those are the things that we are told.